So when the buildings are being developed, they are required to follow that requirement. But what makes them follow? There's already an existing mechanism whereby the developer are allowed to gain some bonus back. For instance, if you walk down William Road, at the junction of Peaches Central, there are space where the people can circulate more freely. But it was not that so back to say 15 years ago. It was very congested. Upon redevelopment of the building, central, I think the central building and also the Yagana. Upon redevelopment building, the developer set the building back and surrender the land at the ground level for pedestrian circulation for back to public purpose. And in so doing, they would gain some bonus back from the government by building additional floor space. The general rule is that if they give up, say, 100 meters of land, 100 square meters of land at the ground level, they may gain about 5 times of space as a coastal area, because they have segregated the land at the ground level, which is far more expensive than if they build at the upper level. The second thing is that about upon the redevelopment, they are required to allow an opening at say the second floor or the third floor of the building in order to provide a connection point with the other building on the opposite side of the road. So when the opposite side, the building on the opposite side of the road is redeveloped, so that they can bring two buildings together by constructing a footbridge. In so doing, they can also be allowed to build some additional floor space. There are many examples within the central. For example, the landmark. If you walk on landmark, you walk across the fountain and then down to the MTR. These are the areas which has been dedicated for public use. These they are within the property, but free public access is allowed by getting through the building to the MTR entrance. So these are the current mechanism which enable private developer either to surrender or to dedicate their property at ground level or at upper level to the public by gaining some floor space back.
We have time for one more question from the audience. Someone different maybe, if it's possible, just so we're fair. Someone on the far right. And then what we'd like to do actually, due to time pressures and space event pressures, I would like to invite Paul to do closing comments for this event and also talk about designing Hong Kong's website for your project.
Mr. Wong, I've been in a similar situation to you when nothing to do with land or property, but when you mentioned the projects you had developed and the people were complaining that there would be problems with crime and prostitution and homeless people sleeping in parks. My perception of what is going on there from my past experience is sometimes when you have an open forum, people will complain about other things in their lives that are going on. So obviously it has nothing to do with the park. They're trying to communicate something to you about their neighborhood and that sort of thing. So it's unfortunate that there's not more action taken on that, or maybe there is and I don't know about it. And also what Alex brought up, that also seems to be a key to those sorts of problems as well.
I've been asked to be closing. I think a critical aspect we all have to keep in mind is that a few years ago, the only people loitering in Hong Kong were on Sunday the domestic helpers, because that's the nature in the Philippines. If you go Sunday, you go to the park, and everybody goes to the church, and then you go to the park. So, and where else to meet? Because they have 10 square foot to sleep in, and that's about it. And the other people who were loitering were those outside Chungking Mansions, because they had nowhere else to go. Most of them are basically refugee status people, and they just hanging out there in the street. There's nowhere else to go. But things are changing in Hong Kong. People's leisure time has doubled just in the last few years, because now we not only have Sunday off, we also have Saturday off. So the demand from residents for leisure facilities has doubled. That's a dramatic increase. We're looking at the numbers in our population demographics. The number of people who are going to be over 65, and I think the number was just mentioned in the budget statement, are going to go up dramatically. 1 out of 4 people are going to be over 65 in Hong Kong. It's now 1 of 8. So the demand for space around where we live, and that is easily accessible to us, where we can loiter and hang about, is going to just change dramatically. So today, people can say, oh, only those loitering on the domestic helpers and a couple of prostitutes are loitering around the street, and maybe a couple of East Asians are loitering in the street. No, people, we will do what everybody else does in New York and in Amsterdam. We're going to loiter ourselves because we have time to loiter. So our attitude about it in Hong Kong is going to change. And the space that we first of all demand, and to come to your point, the lady who's doing her thesis, is not the park, because the park is an exclusive environment. It's right outside. That's the space that is the number one important. That's where we meet. Accidentally, incidentally, we meet our friends, somebody who we didn't know, and community builds. It's not that we go specifically to a park to go and meet somebody, because that's what people in Hong Kong have a problem with, because the old man goes to the park and the girl goes to business. But so, you know, that's kind of like, we're not going to go. That is an exclusive environment. And I like what Raymond just explained. You're inviting all these developers to build walkways and to put space up on podium level. That's no longer public. They call it public space, and when Raymond does his calculations how much public space there is on Hong Kong Island, he calculates that all that ain't public space. But that ain't public space. That's privatized space. There's no street sleeper that's going to hang in there. Nobody's hanging out the free Hong Kong standard inside the landmark in the morning. He's not allowed in there. But that's public space. The developer should actually allow that. He doesn't. So, but that is an issue that is a solution to a problem that Ray is part of as planning department, I think, which is the intensification of our land use. If we put more buildings in and we need more of our available street space for cars, we're going to piece the people that you got to say, oh, where is pedestrians going to go? Well, let's put them into the private buildings. So we're taking away more and more of that space. At some stage, Hong Kong will have to say, what is our quality of life in our public realm? How much public realm do we keep? Where do we stop? Or what else are we going to do? Are we going to say, we build a fantastic rail network and get all the road cars off the road so we have more space? But we'll have to start to make choices that are really, really tough choices. And today, we've only seen some highlights coming out from different people who commented from different angles. We don't see the whole simple construct yet of quantity, how much public space, intensification of our land use, how much public realm is it, and who's going to manage it. 4 management parties, planning department, LCSD for once it's given to them, but the ones who are not here today, highways department and the food and hygiene department. Put them all 4 together and try to have them together solve the issues that we have.
So maybe that's session number 3.
So I just have to say one thing, Designing Hong Kong is a website, and you can put on your photographs of the worst in public space in Hong Kong and the best in public space, and other people can vote on your pictures. Just go to our website. We're collecting photographs, and we have a whole lot of them in the pipeline. They're going to be put on the website. The other thing I have been asked to remind everybody on this, there is a very interesting issue on public space happening right now in the Town Planning Board. For the next 3 weeks, you can express your support for an application prepared by the World City Committee to change the Euro-Ray plan for Peel Street. And if the Town Planning Board adapts that plan, the street market can be saved, because that plan leaves the space for the street market, but it also leaves the space that those operators need, which is the storage spaces in the buildings that are going to be removed otherwise. The Euro-Ray has to put in storage space for those hawkers so they can operate, otherwise they can operate. And they're going to be provided at a reasonable cost. They're going to be zoned as storage for hawkers, not as well, whatever you want to pay for it, because then it goes to the top bidder, and they want to put a restaurant in. No, it has to be zoned for their use. That kind of stuff is in the application, and you can go to savethestreetmarket.com. Yeah? And then you can keep some of Hong Kong's public space with your support. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for all the speakers and the audience. And François, another few announcements. I think this is great energy, and it's disappointing that we all have to leave now. But there is another event besides the Save the Street Wells City Committee alternative plan proposal. There's an urban design symposium next Sunday, March 9th, at the Central Police Station, and it will be hosted by the ULI, AIA, and also the Hong Kong Shenzhen Architecture Urbanism Biennale. I would encourage all of you to really visit the Biennale space as another way of examining public space. And thank you very much for coming.